Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Far End of the Bench YouTube channel for another playoff round reaction. This weekend, we have the divisional matchups that were almost all incredible. We had one that was a little bit of a stinker, but for the most part, they were competitive. We had teams that were looking to advance to the Super Bowl, one of them for the first time ever in franchise history. We'll get to whether or not that happened. One team kind of gets snake bitten and ends up getting beaten at their own game. And we'll get to all of that. I'm going to talk about all the games in order. We'll talk a little bit about the divisional round in general, and then briefly touch on the playoff matchups. I am going to entice you to subscribe to the YouTube channel and make sure that you check out the new episode this week when Nico and I are back together. We'll have a Denver Broncos AFC Championship game to talk about. We will also take a little bit more in-depth look at what is happening for these NFC and AFC championships. What are the key things to be looking for? We're going to take a lot of notes. We're going to make sure that we are giving you as much information as we possibly can, and that is what you guys can expect if you subscribe and follow at FEOTB Pod, and we will have episode 264 dropping for everybody on Thursday. Without further ado, let's jump into some of the key takeaways and stats from this divisional round weekend. This is where you get the difference between good team and great team. If you are a team that has somehow magically found your way here, it is normally when things start to go against you. This is talent. This is a system overcoming just individual talent on the field. This weekend, if you win the turnover battle, very often in any football game, if you win the turnover battle, you're going to be successful. With this weekend, teams are perfect when they won the turnover battle. The home teams were very good, dominant, even 3-1. The only home team that ended up losing in the divisional round is the number 2 seed Chicago Bears, who lost to the Los Angeles Rams in overtime. And then also the team who scores first, 4-0 on the weekend. First special teams, there's one special teams touchdown and one very key injury that we are going to get into. It's going to be the first game that we talk about because it happened first, but the Denver Broncos starting quarterback Bo Nix fractures his ankle at the end of the game, and now it is up to Jared Stidham to see how far this Denver defense and the rest of the squad, Sean Payton and the Broncos country faithful, can take this team, because it is going to be an uphill battle, but it is a favorable matchup, and we're going to take a look at how we got here with the Denver Broncos beating the Buffalo Bills 33-30 in overtime. There was an electricity, a different feeling inside the city of Denver. And it is something that you could feel pretty much since the playoffs were announced, where we knew we had the 1 seed, but it got a little bit more real on Saturday. I was running a tournament down in Castle Rock, and I saw a ton of Broncos jerseys, a few Bills jerseys. I have a few Bills fans in my class, so Leo, Jacob, if you're watching this, shout out to you guys, because that has to hurt. I've been in those situations where your team loses to the AFC West champion in the divisional round of the playoffs, and it is never fun. But what we need to talk about with this game, we're going to start off with what good old JR Jim Ross. If you're a big fan of old WWE, he would have said this was a slobber knocker, because neither team had a truly dominant feel. I would say that the momentum swings were back and forth. It initially started with the home team. The Broncos got on the board. They were doing things that were putting together a lead. They had a lead going into halftime, but then momentum flipped. Josh Allen does what Josh Allen always seems to do and tries to put the team on his back. But unfortunately for him, his coaching staff could not bail him out. His teammates around him could not bail him out. Joe Brady did what he needed to try and out-scheme Vance Joseph, and I would say for the third quarter, Buffalo Bills absolutely dominated and won at every facet of the scheme game. And the Broncos nearly blew a double-digit lead. I don't know if Vance Joseph now is going to be affected in his head coaching job search, but that was not the most promising performance if you're looking for a head coach that's supposedly a defensive guru. I do think that he is very good, but that was a poor performance of play calling for him. Bo and Mims deserve a ton of credit for that last touchdown drive in the fourth quarter. Bo Nix was not perfect by any means, but he showed the same poise that we saw in the regular season, and in the bigger moment in the playoffs, he was still able to lead a touchdown drive, finds Marvin Mims. It was very similar, reminded me of the Cincinnati game last year where they were doing what they could. They needed to win to have the best shot of getting in and not have to worry about other teams losing, and he was able to go deep and put his you know what's on the table, reach down there, grab his set, and let it rip. He was able to do so. Marvin Mims made a heck of a catch where he dives and ends up slamming into the cameraman. Looks like he hurts himself, but they are able to take the lead back after giving it up and really not doing anything after halftime. That was the first real successful drive that they had. RJ Harvey had a couple big plays where he's breaking tackles, breaking the initial tackle, and he's fast enough that turns into a big explosive play. It would have been nice if the defense could have stopped the Bills from scoring, but it almost seemed inevitable that they were going to go down, get into field goal range, and it was going to come down to what happens in the extra period. Buffalo is, for as much defeat as they take in this divisional round, they are always pushing things to the very limit, and they almost did it again. Jaquan McMillan is deserving of a lot of credit, and Buffalo fans, you can probably jump down in the comments and let us know what you think. I'm sure that you're very upset about the Jaquan McMillan, Brandon Cooks exchange and how that was officiated. And then I know you're probably upset about those penalties. So let's talk about them real quick because they are important. The interception by Jaquan McMillan on the pass that was thrown short by Josh Allen to Brandon Cooks is a clean play, and I believe it is the right play to have happen in the playoffs. I do not want a possibly caught ball that didn't really have possession. I will go over, I'll rank my scenarios in order of what I think should have happened. Obviously, what happened where they call it an interception. Jaquan McMillan comes up with possession at the end of the play. Even though Brandon Cook's knee went down, he never fully controlled it, and the ball never hit the ground. I would say I would go with that outcome, possibly an incomplete pass, because there's no way the Buffalo Bills should have been benefit at that point. If you give him a catch in that situation, it is the Chiefs getting walked down the field by the officials. And I was really hoping that wasn't going to happen. And then obviously the most worst outcome that would have happened is if they would have given him the catch. Didn't work. The Broncos get the ball back. They move it. Two costly pass interference penalties. One by Tre'Davious White, which was a true pass interference penalty. I will give Buffalo fans this. I think that the first one was a little bit ticky-tack, but in that situation, you do not put it in the hands of the officials. And after the Rams-Saints NFC Championship, if you tackle the receiver before the ball lands 20 yards behind you, then that is going to be called as pass interference because they don't want to deal with the headache that the fan base who gets screwed over like that would deal with. Denver +2 in the turnovers, 2 fumbles, 2 interceptions. Bo Nix unfortunately fractures his ankle and is going to be out for the remainder of the playoffs. He does lead his team to victory. He was 26 of 46, 279 yards, 3 touchdowns and an interception. Also another 29 yards rushing. It seems as though it was one of those designed quarterback runs towards the end of the game that ended up being the one that he got hurt on. It is disappointing. And now it is Jarrett Stidham moving forward. It is I just need a couple reminders because I'm sure now, as overlooked as the Broncos were going into the Buffalo game, they're probably going to be twice as overlooked now that they don't have their starting quarterback. The strength of this team has not been the offense. It has been the defense. They are expected to be great, and they haven't been as good as they needed to be, but now there is no room for error. You can't do anything less than what you're expected. The offense does not have to be explosive. You just have to be good. Stay on the field. Keep your defense healthy. Make sure that when you have chances to take opportunities and get points, you need that. You need to make sure that you take every single opportunity that you are awarded because their margin for error just continues to shrink. And at this level, you either win and go on and play for the greatest prize in the sport, or you lose and you get a shorter offseason and it's disappointing and you're not going to have the same guys back, and who knows how long it's going to take you to get back here. Tune in Thursday to hear Nico's side of things, episode 264. We're going to have a discussion. We will make picks. I do want to point out that Nico in the pick'em, he said he was hedging his happiness, so I know that he's still very happy that the Bills lost and the Broncos won and moved on. But this was big for me, especially in our playoff pick'em. I'm going to update the points, but Nico lost his Super Bowl champion, the Buffalo Bills, so it is an uphill battle for my man Nico moving forward in these playoffs for the playoff pick'em. We got our first look at the NFC Conference champion, the Seattle Seahawks, number 1 seed coming off of their bye, and we did get to see them with their starting quarterback. The rumors were flying that Drew Lock was going to need to play in relief of Sam Darnold, who had hurt his oblique in the Week 18 matchup against San Francisco, but Darnold was cleared. He felt good enough to go, and Seattle proved a couple things, and I guess I was probably, along with a lot of other people, giving them a lack of respect. They deserve a whole lot more credit because what they did this weekend, it is. I put it in on the screen, so make sure if you're watching, subscribe. It is the loudest venue in the NFL, and it absolutely exploded. The 95-yard kickoff return from Rashid Shaheed to start the game set the tone. We already said on our episode last weekend that it just seemed like the injuries were too much, and the 49ers were winning based on scheme, but at some point it's not about the X's and the O's, it's about the Jimmies and the Joes and the players that they had on the field. It was reminiscent of Percy Harvin in Super Bowl 47 against the Broncos when he takes the opening kickoff of the second half back, but the 95-yard kickoff return to start it, you end the first quarter 14-0. The offense is absolutely demolished by what you have put together on defense. Their defensive line is really scary. Their scheme, they twist and stunt. They're blitzing linebackers, but they have coverage in the back end. Mike McDonald has molded this team into exactly what he wants. It's a grandmaster defense fighting a white belt noob thanks to a bunch of the injuries. No George Kittle. I believe they did not have their left tackle, Trent Williams. And without those things, this was never going to turn out the way that people in the Bay Area wanted. I did tune in to Fatboy Fadeaway, so shout out to you guys at Fatboy Fadeaway Sports. Tyler had a good take on it. He was very rational. It was definitely a season where you're playing with house money because once you have Bosa and Warner go down and then you're sitting there like Purdy was hurt for a long time, it was great that they were able to do what they did and get into the playoffs. I think that it gives you confidence, at least for another season, that this can possibly do what you're putting forth the effort to do. But I do think after next season, if the injuries continue to happen and we continue to see the same things, it'll be a conversation that John Lynch has to get rid of Kyle Shanahan possibly. 49ers want to be successful and they don't want to be known as the next, I'll say, Buffalo Bills, where you're just getting close and you're never actually going over and getting over the hump. The Niners defense Niners offense could not keep the momentum. The Seattle nearly doubled their yardage. They only allowed 3 third down conversions in the game, and the longest drive of the night for the 49ers was 6 plays. This is a team that's now had 15 wins on the season. Sam Darnold is a quarterback that has had 14-plus wins in back-to-back years. He's on a very short list of people to do so. He gets his big moment and his big win, and this is one of those more incredible stories where a guy is totally written off. He's in a bad situation. He was drafted very high, so he has a lot of high expectations, and he goes to a couple different places. Funny enough, San Francisco is where he started his quarterback rehab stint with Kyle Shanahan, and then moves on to Kevin O'Connell, and now he knows he has a defense that gives him confidence. He can play his game, and if he has one of those Sam Darnold moments where he throws 3 interceptions or has 4 turnovers, his defense is going to be there to try and help bail him out. The defense and running game is a championship winning formula. Defense plus running game. When you have the number 1 scoring defense, you have a running game with Kenneth Walker III, who finished with 116 yards and 3 touchdowns, and the X factor of Lumen Field. I struggle to see a world, and I'm somebody who picked the Los Angeles Rams at the beginning of the playoffs. I struggle to see a world where we are not seeing the Seattle Seahawks gearing up to go to the Bay Area and play Super Bowl 60 in Santa Clara at Levi Stadium. To figure out the other side of the AFC Championship, we had to wait till Sunday, and ESPN broadcast on ABC, Monday Night Football crew, Troy Aikman and Joe Buck. This one was good for a time, and then even with the level of talent and the execution, like the Patriots offense was definitely struggling against the Texans defense. Everybody expected that. The 1, 2, 3, 4 this year on defenses are the Seahawks, then it goes to the Texans, then it's the Broncos at number 3, and then it's the Patriots at number 4. So both these teams had really stout defenses. I think that's what people forgot about when we were talking about this game, and seeing which team you would rather come and play Denver if they both made it to the AFC Championship. A lot of people said they didn't want to see Houston, and I get it, because Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson Jr. nearly tried to put the team on their back, and it's very difficult for a defensive end to come through and win games. Just ask Myles Garrett over in Cleveland. But they just weren't able to get it done. And the Patriots on the defensive side of the ball got a lot of turnovers when they needed to. And even though they weren't as explosive and it wasn't a blowout by any means, it shows, a 12-point. It wasn't like dominant fashion, but they scored on 5 out of 6 drives. Drake May had a couple costly turnovers, but the defense was always able to come through and bail them out. And it's a playoff system that I talked about last week, and they just kind of expanded on their strategy. So it's a little bit nerve-wracking to know that now it's Mike Vrabel and this Patriots team coming in. Their receivers are healthy. You have Hunter Henry, who's going to make your life miserable because you always struggle to cover tight ends in the middle of the field. And then you have Kayshon Boutte and Stephon Diggs, who make big plays and are explosive. Drake May has time, which this Broncos defense has not been the menace against quarterbacks as it has in the past. If they can do what they did to the Patriots did to Houston, that'll be the biggest X factor and key. But right now, Vrabel leads his team on the road to Denver. This is the 3rd time that the Patriots will be going up against the Broncos in the AFC Championship game. They are 0-2. That was the Brady-Manning matchups in 2013 and 2015, where the Broncos, with those great defenses, got it done and were able to move past the dynasty that was New England. The Texans are the 15th team in history to come in with the playoffs with an 8-game winning streak and end up losing and not making it to the Super Bowl. They are also the only team left to not have made an appearance in the conference championship game. They are 0-7 in all-time franchise history. They are the youngest franchise, so it's only back to, I think, 2002, but it is still a stat. They've put together talented teams. They had Deshaun Watson before he went off and got crazy with the massages and stopped playing well, and they are still searching for that. It's a different hump for them. They are at a different level. You cannot treat this team like they are on the same level as the teams who have been there before. The Broncos, the Patriots, I would say the Rams are a team that's done it before. The Texans are a team that needs to prove it. Hell, even Jacksonville has made it to the conference championship and were steps away from making it to the Super Bowl in one of their seasons. The Texans are just not there. Despite the insane level of their defense, they just weren't able to do anything today, and they end up ending their season 28-16. The last game of the weekend and the last time that we're seeing Chris Collinsworth and Mike Tirico until Super Bowl 60 on NBC was the Rams and Bears 20-17 in Chicago. The Rams get the win in overtime. They out-Bears the Bears. It was not what anybody was expecting. If you thought about this matchup coming in, yes, the Rams had a defense that could hold opposing offenses to low point totals, but the Bears are a team that, if they didn't get turnovers, it was definitely more of I was assuming it was going to be like that San Francisco-Chicago game that we had on Monday night, where it was up and down the field, scoring lots of points. You have McVay, you have Ben Johnson, both guys trying to prove who is the smarter offensive coach, and that was not the game that ended up playing out. It's the second week in a row that the Rams are playing with fire, and they ended up surviving once again. But now it's a heck of a matchup that they have upcoming, going to Seattle to play on the road in the NFC Championship game. It was not good. Stafford is ending the game with 0 touchdowns. Kyron Williams is the one who has the 2 lone scores for the Rams offense. And then your defense comes up big when you need to, and your field goal kicker is able to bail you out. The Bears had been pulling off magical comebacks too long. This is what proves that you can't just rely on magic the entire time. It's good. It's a successful season. I think that you have a lot of good things moving forward, but it's clearly not enough for us to take you as a serious contender. Caleb Williams throws too many interceptions in these big moments, and if he didn't do those things, it's hard for me to believe that the Bears are not able to come back and win this thing in overtime. They were driving down the length of the field when he threw his third and final interception of the day. It's something that Chicago is going to need to clean up, and I think Ben Johnson is now he's going to have a lot of time on his hands, and it's going to be a maniacal work ethic. I have faith he's shown in the past the ability to make adjustments and put his team in better situations. But this one, it's interesting because I did pick the Rams at the beginning of the playoffs, and I am happy that they won. But I do not feel comfortable with the picks that I have made so far. And we're going to see how this goes and where we go from here. Harrison Beavis is the hero. He sends the Los Angeles Rams back to the NFC Championship game for an NFC West showdown with the Seattle Seahawks, number 5 seed versus number 1 seed. And we're going to quickly talk about those matchups that we have coming up on Championship Sunday. Championship Sunday is set in the AFC. We have the Patriots and Broncos. That is going to be the first game. Patriots going to Denver, 1 p.m. on CBS. Defense, I have just a few headlines because I am radio and newspaper trained, I guess you can say. I am in the podcast space now, and we're doing a lot more different things, but that is what my expertise kind of falls back to. So I came through and put together a few of the headlines that I think would work for these games. So we're just going to quickly go through those and then wrap this thing up because we're not trying to go too long on these reaction videos. I'm trying to get Nico out here on one of these, especially if the Broncos are able to pull things off next Sunday. He had a hell of a travel weekend. So again, tune in Thursday for episode 264. I'm going to make sure that he talks about all of it, but there was quite a few things that he had to overcome. The Patriots and Broncos, defense, doubt, and destiny collide. It is a flashback to 2016. No style points, just the Super Bowl on the line. I think both teams have proven over the season that they are playing a system, and whoever is able to get to their system fastest, it's kind of, I am a wrestling coach, so I equate a lot of things back to the wrestling mat. But in the first period, when you're feeling people out, you're going to throw some feints. You're going to try and throw a couple shots out there. Boxing, UFC can be used as an example too. Once I make contact with a few things and I figure out your defensive strategy, that's where my system is going to start getting implemented. And hopefully Jared Stidham is prepared. He is going up against one of his former teams. I do think that there is, it's not no chance, but it is something I got to see it to believe it. And I'm hoping that the other players on Denver can step up and rally around him. And I know that Bo Nix, as much as he wants to be on the field, he's going to be all in and in Jared Stidham's, pocket if he needs him, trying to help out as much as he can. On the NFC side, the number 5 seed Rams, number 1 seed Seahawks in Seattle, Lumen Field. The 12th man is going to be rocking. 4:30 on Fox. Seattle stands tall, and the Seahawks, Seattle stands tall, and the Rams come knocking. Old school toughness meets new school confidence. Seattle built this. The Rams want to break it. The Rams have been the most successful of the really good era of NFC West football that we've seen. The Seahawks back in 2013 and 2014 made it to the Super Bowl a couple of times, and now we have Mike Macdonald in a situation to put that franchise back on the map and back where they believe they are supposed to be. I'm excited for this one. I think that there's a lot of intriguing sides to both parts. You have the offensive coach going up against the defensive coach. Clay Kubiak is going to be getting looked at for head coaching jobs from Seattle. I believe that he's already been interviewing in a couple places. So the offensive strategy on both sides will be great. And when we saw these two teams collide last, it was a play that I don't think anybody has ever seen in an NFL football game happen before, where a ball bounces off somebody's helmet. They don't call it an incomplete pass. They call it a fumble that's picked up and ran into the end zone. Seattle ends up getting that one, beating San Francisco a couple weeks later, and they steal the 1 seed, and that is why Rams are going to be having to deal with Lumen Field. I'm nervous about what Stafford's able to do, but again, I picked the Rams to win, and I had the Broncos coming out of the AFC side. Points updates, I am currently taking quite a big lead. I picked the Broncos correctly, and I picked the Seahawks correctly, the Rams correctly. In this one, I lost the Bears, so I ended up getting 30 points on the weekend. Nico ended up getting only 20 as he had he got 30 as well, 3 out of the 4, but he loses his Super Bowl champion in Buffalo, so he's going to have less points that are on the table. We'll have updates for all of those things. Like I said a couple times, make sure that you check out the episode on Thursday, episode 264 will be dropping. Make sure that you continue to watch all of the content that we're putting out. You can probably, I will put it out there, expect a national championship simulation video in college football 26. And then when we get to Super Bowl weekend, we will probably do a Super Bowl virtual Super Bowl in Madden as well, because I do have both those games. I've been having a lot of fun. Frankie the Horn Calderon is going to be very excited. He gets to call those big matchups. We will be paying close attention. I know this is an NFL show, but we're paying close attention to the college football championship that is taking place Monday night. And it's just been a very busy and hectic week. I'm hoping that the end of January kind of slows down, and then February, I have the end of wrestling season. We're gonna have to start getting ready for March Madness, and Olympic hockey will be getting underway as well. So lots of great things coming from the far end of the bench. Make sure you're subscribed, FEOTB Pod on all social media channels, and continue to rock with us. We appreciate everybody so far. For myself, Jimmy Pilato, my normal co-host, Nico Bryant, this has been a playoff live reaction. We will see you guys back on Thursday.
If you don't stay down and you never quit, come on over here and sit on the far end of the bench.